What's up, guys? It is JZNES back again with another video. Here today we are talking about Phantom Hourglass. It feels like it took me forever to beat this game, but as far as I can see, I uploaded the Twilight Princess thing like 3 weeks ago, so it can't have been that long. It fits in the plan of a game per month on some of these here, so yeah, Twilight Princess, Phantom Hourglass, which is falling over here now, of course. The DS Zelda game that everyone seems to hate or whatnot. But, you know, I honestly don't think it's that bad. I think that the game is pretty good, and there's a lot of positives to the game. Is it the best Zelda game? Is it the greatest one ever? No, but like, there's a lot of good aspects to this Zelda game. It certainly annoyed me less than games like Oracle of Ages, and it was more or less straightforward. There were some little cryptic things sometimes where I'd just kind of be like, what's going on here? Like, what am I supposed to do? And then I remember I have this item, or I'd look at the guide and remember I had this item, and it'd be like, oh, okay, so you have to use this like this. Alright, fair enough, you know, like, not any of it was, like, so far beyond what you could figure out, and the dialogue and the NPCs are actually pretty helpful to figuring out the game as a whole. So, yeah, it's good in that regard. I think where some of the problems come in, for me anyway, is like holding this, because you need to use the stylus throughout the whole game. So you have to walk with the stylus. Now, at first, I thought, hey, you know what, this kind of sucks, like most people. But I did end up getting used to it over time, and I didn't mind it. I actually thought it was a pretty good fix for running around. It's more of like a 2D environment, because it's like kind of overhead, you know, style or whatnot, but it is still a 3D environment in a lot of ways. So running around with like an analog stick would be ideal. Obviously the DS or the DSi XL is what I have here. Only has the D-pad, so they use the stylus to kind of make up for that, so you would have to move and stuff. So the problem becomes holding this fucking thing for hours and hours and doing this. It doesn't look so hard right now, and it's not so hard right now. But I got pretty thin wrists, you know? I don't have a lot of, like... This thing's, like, kind of... It's not heavy, but over time, it definitely, like, weighs on your hand there. Is this reflecting a light or something? Is that why you guys are going crazy? Anyway. So, yeah, like, doing this, you know, and I got used to it, but, like, especially at the beginning, like, my hand strength of holding this up, I kind of have to do some of this so I could, like, you know, but holding this thing up, look at this, they got the windfall, right? Outset. I was thinking Wind Waker. Outset Island, right? Isn't that what this is? Anyway, I don't even remember this track in the game, so, like, that should tell you everything right there. Like, I guess I'll get that out of the way. The music's pretty decent. Just kind of some good remixes of older songs, or like the main sailing theme is kind of a reworking of the Wind Waker one, but it has its own style, and that's kind of this game in a nutshell. It's a Wind Waker sequel in a sense, but like, it's not the same as Wind Waker in a lot of ways. In a lot of ways, that's a good thing. In a lot of ways, that's you know, not disappointing, but just like, it's not as good as that. So, you know, for instance, the openness of the world, it's a much tighter and more compact world. But that was a lot of people's main criticism of Wind Waker. There's too much water, you know, just like Pokemon or whatever, just like Gen 3. So this game kind of cut down on a lot of that. There's not that much time in between areas, but there is also at the same time. It's kind of hard to explain, but like, there's 4 main areas, and like it doesn't take too long to get from one to the other, but you're not actively sailing. What you're doing is you route a map on the bottom screen, the touch screen of the DS, with like a map function, and then you hit route, and it goes for you. It just does that automatically. So you're kind of just watching, you know, for a little bit, and there's enemies and stuff along the way to like take down, and you only have so many hits. Like I had 4 hits. I think there's a way to upgrade that by upgrading your ship and stuff, but I'll get to that in a minute. So, you know, it's just kind of boring sometimes in between. It's a lot of little stuff set up everywhere, you know, like you have this salvage arm, for instance. You had that in Wind Waker too, where you can you get a lot of treasure charts in this game. And it'll put an X on your map, or somebody will tell you like, hey, this thing is over here, and so, you know, you go there, and then you play this little mini game, which they didn't have in Wind Waker. They just kind of said, oh, it's kind of over there, which is kind of a bad thing, honestly, because it's like you don't really know. The sea is so open and vast, and there's so many spots. It's kind of hard to, without like a fucking really good map, it's really hard to tell, or like a video guide. It's often hard to tell where exactly you are supposed to go and salvage to get stuff, you know? So in this game, the world's more compact. People clearly mark on your map exactly where you need to go, and it's nice. It's really helpful, and it's cool. And then you go there. The salvage mini game kind of sucks because there's all these like bombs and mines and stuff and all the shit that you can run into, and you only have so many hits. You have like 6 hits or something. And then you have to go and buy a new salvage arm or like repair it or whatever for like 100 rupees. And initially I think it's like 200 rupees or something. Don't quote me on that, but it's at least 100 rupees, which is a lot of money. Now, this game does give you money in abundance, and especially if you're going kind of out of your way to get all the treasure chests and stuff, you're not really ever going to be tight on money, but there is some things that you have to spend a lot of money on. Like there's a heart piece that you have to pay like 1,000 for. What is this guy? What is he doing? A heart piece you got to pay like 1,000, I think, for. Maybe it was 2,000. It's a lot. I remember it being a lot. But it's not a heart piece. It's actually a whole heart container, so it is actually worth it. But speaking of which, I don't think I ever got a heart piece in this game. Maybe I got a heart piece. Did I get a heart piece? Are there heart pieces in this game? That's such a weird thing to suddenly realize, but I don't think I once got a fucking heart piece in this game. It was always just heart containers. So that's kind of really fucking weird. Is that how that works, or am I just stupid and didn't get any? I like how this guide has like a checklist in the back, like, and then somebody actually checked a lot of these things. Somebody actually used this guide like really well back there. Huh. Oh, here we go, heart container. But it's just heart containers. There's only 13 of them. And most of them say after the dungeon. Yeah, I think there's just heart containers in this game. I don't think there's heart pieces. That's really fucking weird, actually. That's never been done in a Zelda game. And before this, they were raking you for every fucking heart piece. 5 heart pieces to make a heart in fucking Twilight Princess? God, it was ridiculous. And now they're just like, no, I just have the whole fucking container. So that there's really not a lot to go out of your way to get stuff like that. But you get rupees. A lot of times you'll get ship parts for your ship. You'll get treasure chests or treasure charts to show you other spots and stuff. Stuff like that. You'll get items you can sell sometimes. They sell for pretty good money. It's usually ship parts, though, is what you're getting there. So I guess we'll talk about that. There's a mechanic in the game where you can buy ship parts or find ship parts, and every time you get it... Oh my god, I'm so stupid, okay? I remembered this from when I was a kid, too. Like, I did play this game back when it initially came out, by the way. Oh my god, I remember this, too, from back then. that like I always knew there was something weird about the menus, and like every time I get a ship part, I'm like, where is it? I can't see it on my menu, you know, because the menu's there. There's a scroll bar. You can scroll down, and the ship parts are all on the later parts of the menu. So like, I didn't realize until like the last dungeon you can switch out your ship parts by just scrolling down the list and looking for the other ones. I feel so stupid, but I remember this being the same problem when I was a kid, and they should make that more obvious. It wasn't obvious you can just like scroll downward. I know that sounds so stupid, and it makes me sound so fucking stupid, but like seriously, just put them in order or something when you get them, or like, if we're gonna do Pokédex style, just like fucking make a ship dex of each part, and then you can organize it by ship, you know, dex order or whatever. Like, just put them all on the list. That's why it got confusing, because I'm like, the one that I did have was right under the first one, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is how it works. It just fills in as you go, and then you'll be able to scroll down or whatever. That would make a lot of sense. That's how all games work, you know? You have an inventory, you know, and okay, they just put, it's so you, like a completionist thing. It's weird, but like, yeah, I didn't realize that until later. So, that being said, aside from that one minor ass fucking complaint about that, maybe it's not minor. Maybe it's like an actual complaint. Like, I don't know. I don't know if it was obvious to everyone else. If it was obvious to everyone else, then it's a minor complaint. If not, then you know, I'm just a fucking idiot. I know. Anyway, so that is cool that you can actually customize your ship with different parts. You can do like different handrails and different cannons and stuff. And actually give you advantage, like more defense, or I think more hearts in some circumstances if you like get a matching set or something. So it kind of gives you a lot of incentive to go out of your way to get the extra treasure chests in the dungeons and inside of the main temple, Ocean King dungeon or whatever, which we'll talk about in a bit, and go and find the treasure charts to find the X's out in the world to get those ship parts, because you're pretty vulnerable out there on the open sea, and so you're gonna want yourself to be as defensed up as possible, you know, or do more damage or whatever, you know. You're gonna need that. There's like fights and like boss fights that happen while you're on your ship and stuff. I don't really recall that being a thing in Wind Waker, so like points for that on the DS stuff. And aside from like the route stuff, like, which is fine, it's pretty responsive, like shooting at your enemies and stuff, and like controlling everything there. So like control wise, surprisingly, the game is like pretty responsive and pretty good for something that you're controlling with a stylus. Like, that's kind of crazy, you know. Like, and I every time I think about this game prior to playing it just now, I just kind of remembered like, oh, you know, like the whole stylus thing, that can't be any good, right? But it's like, no, actually it works surprisingly well. It's just holding it like this. And I want to play it on the XL because I don't want to play it on some tiny ass screen like before. There's a puzzle at the end of the game. Spoilers for Phantom Hourglass, I guess. There's a puzzle at the end where you get these like Phantom Hourglasses, like the titular Phantom Hourglass, and you have to like draw a figure 8 on the screen, like an hourglass, on the bottom screen there. But like, doing it is already hard enough to do on this big ass screen. If I had to do it on like the tiny screen, fuck that. I wouldn't have made it, you know? Like, I probably had trouble with this game back in the day. It was because of shit like that. Yeah. So, this is definitely one of those games that back in the day I had to kind of, you know, go on GameFAQs and stuff and kind of look and see, like, what's this tiny thing I'm missing to this puzzle. It's always like, I know where I need to be and what puzzle is blocking my way forward, but it's not always obvious what I need to do to get forward. But it's always something pretty simple. It's never something like Oracle of Ages where it's like, yeah, you had to actually put the water at this level and then go to this other room or whatever and do all this shit. And this is a portable Zelda game. That was also a portable Zelda game, but it didn't feel like a portable Zelda game. It felt like a fucking, like, SNES Zelda game. You know, like, graphically it was like the NES one, but, like, those games weren't built for portability. You know, you can say, like, okay, they did remake those games to be portable. And in a sense, yeah, they did. And they weren't, like, redesigned by any means to work portably, but, you know, you can play those games portable, sure. But this feels like a really, truly great portable Zelda game because everything is very concise. The dungeons, especially, the dungeon design in this game, while not being, like, super memorable or whatever, you know, I can think of back on a little bit of them. They're all pretty samey in a sense. They do have different feels to them. The atmosphere and the graphically, it's different. And, you know, like there's an ice one, a fire one, all that kind of shit. But, and there's only like 5 or 6 of them or something. I think 7 with the, like, main dungeon there. But, they're very quick, you know, fast-paced, and there's always nice shortcut loops back to the beginning, and I think that's really very helpful, and especially for a portable experience. I never really used the portable games as portable, but, like, if I was, and I needed to stop, you know, 10 minutes in or something, I wouldn't lose all my progress. So they always make it, like, very... It's always... The dungeons are really well designed to where it's all kind of intricately, like, shortcutted back into each other, and it's never very hard to get where you're trying to be in the dungeon. And I just think that's really clever and smart for this, like, spin-off Zelda game everyone always talks all this shit about. So I like that. I like that they're kind of compact and all the puzzles kind of feel understandable, and it's kind of natural to, like, where you're going. The dungeons are sometimes linear, but sometimes you can kind of go on some branching paths and stuff, and so I mean, in a lot of sense, or in that sense, like, a lot of people might be like, okay, like, I don't really like that, there's not a lot of exploration to it, but it's like, yeah, but this is kind of straightforward, you know? I'm kind of sick of some of the exploration-y ones, like Oracle took it Oracle of Ages, that is, took it way, way too far, you know? Like, Seasons had a good, more of this kind of structure to it. Even that had, like, some kind of longer dungeons, but, all the dungeons are really concise, and they're just well designed, I feel like. Boss-wise, like, a lot of them are pretty good. They all utilize their gimmicks of, like, the items pretty well. I did like the one that's, like, the second to last boss where you have to, like, use the hammer to hit the things, so you, like, jump up in the air and you just keep pounding away at different sections of them. I thought that boss was really cool. The final boss is kind of a good representation of using all of your items. I should say the second to last boss, that's not the dungeon boss that I was just talking about. But, like, the final form of the final boss is just like another knight enemy, and it's like you just have to dodge his attacks, and it's more like the Ganon fight from, like, Twilight Princess, but just, like, not done quite as well. You know, that one was like an eh. I did like the ship battle before that, like, fighting the ship and all of that. I thought that's kind of cool. But that, like, knight part where the parasite thing just attaches onto the knight, it's like, yeah, whatever. Like, that's not that great. But the one before that's pretty good. Yeah, what was I gonna say? There was something about the dungeons. I don't know. Let's talk about the temple of the Ocean King, the thing that everyone else hates as well. I didn't hate it. I thought that I get what everyone's criticism is like, you know, you got to go back to it a bunch of times, like 5 or 6 times or something like that, and you have to go all the way through it. There is a checkpoint like halfway through it. I think that there should have been more checkpoints, and then it would have encouraged. Well, I guess less checkpoints actually does encourage better like running through it. But like, what if there was a checkpoint on every floor? There's like 16 or so floors. So let's say there's a checkpoint on every floor, and you can kind of like go through a list, and then, but you had to have run through the dungeon. You know, you only have so much time going through the dungeon. That's kind of the main gimmick of it. So, and you get more time after each boss, so it lets you go farther and farther into the dungeon after you get like the pearls from the boss or whatever those are. So then you can like access doors and stuff that you could need and before, or you get like items that'll help you like progress further into the dungeon. So yeah, so like that's the kind of stuff that I like about it. If at each floor they gave you like a checkpoint and you could like record your time there and all of that, that would encourage you to speed run it better, essentially, which is kind of what they were getting at, is like they set this checkpoint in the middle, so that you can kind of speed run through to get there. But once you keep getting better items, you keep getting access to better shortcuts in different areas and like more time and stuff, which definitely helps. And then by the like 4th time you're in there, you know, I got to like the checkpoint in the middle with like 2 minutes of time wasted, and that's it out of like 20 that I had at the time. So like that was pretty good. So then at that point I just kept that as my like time to the checkpoint, you know, like 2 minutes wasted, like that's nothing, you know. So that's pretty cool. I like that aspect, but I think that's a lot of people's criticism of that, is that you have to go through it a bunch of times. But what I like about going through it a bunch of times is all those shortcuts and stuff that you get by getting the items from the other dungeons, and then you'll come back and then they'll figuring all that out and like getting other treasure chests and stuff there, because of that is pretty cool, because of you having like new items and stuff. So then beyond that, you have what was I gonna say? Shoot. I lost it. I was gonna say something, but I forgot. I was talking about the items, how to make things easier. Oh. In the dungeons, on each floor, they'll have this little, like, basically one of the Sheikah statues, except they're not those. They're just like a version of those or something. And they'll tell you how many chests are left on that floor, and then you can, pretty much at any point in the game, you can, because you don't use the D-pad to like move and stuff, you can use this to, actually, you can use any of the buttons really here, other than like start and select to do it. But like if you press down, it'll bring down your menu there. It's kind of crazy how you don't really use many of the buttons outside of like... No, you really don't. You don't really use any buttons. Everything is like touch controlled. You use it for the sword, use it for your items. That actually kind of makes me think that like, why didn't we use the buttons for different items, like an ocarina or something? Like, why couldn't this just be like do the functions that all of this does, and then let me map these to the buttons, and if I want to use the touch screen, I can, because that would have made things a lot easier. Because there's a menu item system in the game where it's like, actually, yeah, I don't know why I haven't been doing this. I can just show you guys this shit. I don't even have to explain this. Oh, Spirit Tracks is in here. Okay, never mind. So basically, there's like a menu item system. You have to like click here and then click down here to like scroll through your items, and it doesn't stop the gameplay. It just, like, you have to do this all real time, so enemies can be, like, hitting you and stuff. I don't like that. I think that it should have paused the gameplay. I know that's a lot of people's criticism with those kind of things, like, you know, that's why everyone hates the water temple so much, and it's, like, kind of weird, like, you have to have, like, so many keys and all that, but everyone hates it because they have to go in, hit the iron boots, hit out, you know, that kind of thing. This was their solution, really? Like, keep the gameplay going at the same time? Like, that's not any better. That's worse in a sense, you know? It's like, so that was kind of frustrating to do that. And then to use the item, you have to, like, click on it here, and then, like, you know, tap over here. So you're inevitably going to click here, and then the enemies are still coming at you, and then, you know, it leads to some problems. So, in that sense, if I could have just maybe, like, used these buttons, even if they still wanted me to use the touch stuff, that's fine, but, like, I guess you can't really, like, you know, while you're doing this, you can't really use the item. Like, I don't know, they could use a D-pad or something, or like the, okay, then you'd have to, like, hold up here, I don't know, like, you're obviously going to be using the D-pad, so why couldn't I just use the D-pad for items, and then maybe down could have been to pull the map down so I can make marks on it. That was my point about that, was that the little guys will tell you where all the things are. They'll put little highlighted areas where all the treasure chests are, but then you have to mark it on your map. And the game is really reliant on stuff like that, where you'll find out some information and they expect you to write it down on your map so that you remember it. Or, like, they'll be like, okay, go to this maze over here, and there'll be these stone tablet things that'll tell you the order of how to, like, draw a thing, to open this door over here or something. So you'd be like, okay, this is on, like, the last island or whatever. You're like, go over there. Alright. Oh, okay, so the thing's like this, and then you have to do it in this order. Okay, cool. And then you take that information and go, like, draw it on a door. Like, for the most part, it's pretty lenient about you drawing, but, like, the Triforce puzzle one, it, like, really expects you to do that. And I don't remember anybody telling me that you have to start, like, this way and then go this way, because how I've always drawn it, and because I always think about this puzzle, this, like, there's a part where you have to draw a Triforce all in one go. So whenever I do it on a piece of paper or something when I'm bored, like this, I do it, like, you know, I'll go this way with it rather than this way with it. Like, that, they expect you to do the opposite way of how I've always done it. So I was drawing it that way a bunch of times, and then the thing would keep flashing, saying that, like, okay, you've got the right shape, but you're not doing it right. And I'm just like, okay, well, what am I doing wrong? I've got it all. I've done it all in one go. And then it's like, no, you have to start, like, this way rather than this way. I'm not talking about this or this. We're talking about this, you know? So, yeah. They use the mic, too, sometimes. Sometimes you'll have to blow things, or sometimes you'll have to just, like, yell or something. And there was one time when they wanted me to yell, and I was like, hey! And then it, like, said on the screen, like, hey! Like, it knew that I was yelling, hey! That's kind of cool. Like, I don't know if it, like, that's what you're meant to yell or what, but, like, it was neat that it knew that. But, yeah, sometimes I just, like, randomly yell, and my cats would just, like, look over at me, like, what the fuck is going on with this guy? Like, what's his problem? Yeah. So, but yeah, overall, I mean, I think, like, a lot of that stuff works. There, like I said, there's a lot of little problems that, like, kind of add up, like, holding it and, like, the item thing. Overall, I liked all of the items. Like, there's a boomerang that you can use that you basically trace your path with the stylus over to certain things like, you know, the orbs or whatever, the orb switches or stuff like that, you know. That's pretty cool. Your bow, you kind of, like, click in a direction and Link will, like, point that direction and then he'll shoot it when you let go, kind of thing. That's pretty cool. The hammer you can actually, like, use at a little bit of a distance, which is kind of neat. the bomb chew, you actually like set a path and it'll go like anywhere basically, based on the path that you draw, and that actually pauses the game so that enemies aren't killing you at the same time, which like is nice. And I wish a lot of the items kind of worked like that, or they give you like a little window or something. I don't know. Like that's just a problem, that the enemies can attack you while you're trying to use your items, but yet you gotta click up here to use your item, and it's like, can't I just like, you know, click or something? But no, if you click, then you're gonna use your sword. So like, I don't know how they could have solved that, but you know, like somehow they'd have to use the button or something. I don't know. Like, they're trying to not do that. I get that. But it's like, it's just, at least it's other problems, is my point. In terms of like pacing battles and whatnot. So, but yeah, all the items are pretty good. Let's see what else. There was bombs and like, I mean, those are the main ones I can think of at the moment. Oh, they have the what you call it, the like claw, not the hook shot, but like the other one, the grappling hook thing from Wind Waker that you use. Do you get the you get the hook shot later in Wind Waker, don't you, or something? Like it's weird. Anyway, you get that, and you can like use it to do a lot of cool things. You can make like a rope bridge and stuff if you like connect 2 points and stuff. So a lot of that kind of stuff is cool. There's a lot of puzzles that are like super timed out or whatever. Like you only have a limited amount of time, and that's kind of like tricky to do sometimes, but you know, not so bad. Like, yeah. The story, I don't know. There's not much to say about that. It's like you get like taken over to this other sea. Tetra and you are like trying to explore this ghost ship, and then it like takes you to this other land or whatever, the ocean island, Ocean King land or whatever. And then you like meet this guy Linebeck, and you're using his ship the whole game, kind of thing. So, and he's all right. He's a decent character. I kind of like him. He's kind of a Han Solo-esque character. You know, he's really rebellious, and he's kind of all in it for himself. He just wants to find treasure, but eventually over time he kind of learns to be, you know, rebel with a good heart, you know, kind of thing. So that's nice. But yeah, like, not much to say about the story, I guess. There's really not much story going on. You just kind of go from point to point. You have this like fairy thing, Celia or something. I don't know. She's alright. Like, decent, you know, whatever. You get these other 2 fairies. Apparently, you collect these, like, force gem things the whole game. And they're, like, wisdom, power, and courage or whatever. You know, the red, blue, and red or green and whatnot. I don't really know what those do. They're collectible. Apparently, if you collect all of them, they do something. I don't know. They're throughout the game too, so a lot of times you'll get those as your prize or whatnot from opening a treasure chest. So yeah, but not too bad. Like, everything about the game kind of adds up to be good overall, but I don't know. There's not a lot of little, like, mini-game areas either or whatever to, like, do collectibles, that kind of thing. You know, like, that's kind of a Zelda tradition, but I think it's almost better in a sense that they don't have a lot of stuff like that. Like, clouding up the game, you know? Like, clogging up the game, is what I was trying to say. So, it's just a more, like, simple experience. Okay, so, another thing is that there'll be, like, Beetle is out, like, in the ocean, you know, so you can, like, go find him. There'll be a lot of, like, other little ships that'll have, like, little interactions with these other characters and stuff. One's this, like, pirate lady that's coming after Linebeck, or whatever, and so you have to fight her a bunch of times, and it's, like, It's kind of like the Gerudo boss fight, you know, with the Gerudo women, where you kind of fight them in a sword fight, you know, and you dodge around them and stuff. That kind of thing. Think that's the kind of, you know, like, fight pretty much exactly. So, yeah, you can do that a bunch of times, and there's other, like, ships out there and stuff that'll, like, fight you and try to, like, blow you up and stuff. So, that's kind of cool. But yeah, so, like, overall, I enjoyed the game. I think it looks pretty good as well. I guess, you know, there's not much to say about that. For a DS game, it looks pretty good. Um, Musically, it's pretty decent, you know. There's a lot of good tracks, a lot of catchy music there, a lot of good remixes, but I mean, we're in a series that has, like, insane amount of, like, good music, but, you know, it's pretty passable soundtrack, pretty good, you know. Good, not like great, not like above average. Oh my god, like, but you know, some of the tunes are pretty good. Um, it's not bad music by any means, which is good. So yeah, there's that. Um, like I said, the items are all pretty good, and they're all fun to use, but just like that item system is kind of weird. Having to select the item and stuff, and not being able to, like, pause the action and stuff. Um, yeah, but like the dungeons, I think were well designed, and looping back on each other is kind of cool. You know, there's lots of little shortcuts and whatnot. I think that's a good aspect of the game. The sailing parts are good and bad. You know, like, not bad, but good and eh. You know, like, the time between is kind of longer sometimes, especially if you're going around. Apparently there was some kind of warp system in the game too with the frogs. I never really figured out how to activate all of that, so that was probably on me. You know, being able to warp places would have been a lot easier. So, um, yeah, like, I like that, and I like a lot of the touchscreen stuff. I think that was kind of well implemented. Um, like, overall, it's pretty good. You know, it's a pretty good Zelda game, and I think that it sucks that everyone kind of harshly rates it, and dogs on it and whatnot. You know, for me, there are a few problems for sure, but I don't think those really drag down the experience for me that much. You know, it's not like, oh my god, I love playing this one, you know, like, this is one I'm gonna come back to a bunch of billion times, you know, or whatever. You know, I might come back to it every now and again, but, like, yeah, like, it's, obviously, it's not like a Majora's Mask or an Ocarina of Time, where it's like, wow, this is, I'm 100% this shit, I love this shit, I can just sit down and, you know, get in the zone and just do, you know, like, but it has a lot of good aspects to it. Um, so, you know, like, not the worst one. Not the best one by any means. You know, it's kind of somewhere in the middle, or probably towards the bottom, because a lot of Zelda games just are so good, you know, is the problem. Um, I can think of at least two that are going to be under it, though, which is Oracle of Ages and probably Skyward Sword. I'm going to imagine, unless my opinion on it changes very drastically, which I doubt. So, maybe I'll like it a little bit more this time with the not, you know, bullshit controls or whatever, but yeah, so, God, we're only like 2 games away from that. Like, I'm not looking forward to that. But anyway, you know, I would say it's pretty good overall. Uh, Solid, like, you know, 7.3 out of 10, if that's fair. I think that's pretty good. You know, not terrible, not great, so it's kind of somewhere in the middle, you know? There's a lot of good things it has going on for it. I enjoyed it. Um, Overall, you know? So yeah, I liked it. Phantom Hourglass. So next time we'll be doing Spirit Tracks, which is a game that I have never personally played, but now I have it. I've heard 2 people say good things about it, and the rest of the people were like, oh, it's the train one. So I don't know what to expect out of that one. We'll see what happens, you know? Hopefully I'll have it done by the next month, I guess. Because I really want to keep this, like, keep going, you know, rapid pace through these things. Yeah. So, Phantom Hourglass. Until next time, this has been JZNES saying keep it classic. Stick around for more reviews, underrated games. I'll see you guys in the next one. JZ out.